even your hardships and your glory days, you would just want to chuck them all into the cup, burn them up, and just feel like they never existed. And I think I'm getting to that point. Most people always end up thinking this should always start at this age. I started when I was very young, at a teenager age, because I was always listening to my elders, and they always said, when you're young, try everything, do everything, because that's the only time that you have to to try out in your life. I truly believe how it comes along. It's a very easy and simple way of doing stuff. You always have to look at the best and what you can do. I do not really understand what's happening in my life, but I know there's another version of me that's coming up that has much more tenacity and much more laser focus, and is actually much more relaxing of the way it looks at life, and it does not give anybody else the chance to defer me for what I want to do or what I believe I should do. I realized how people who are old are young and young are old, because even though you're young, you're more inspired to change the world. You're old, you feel like you've lived through it, so you kind of feel childish that you don't have to do anything. I don't really want to put myself in that position. I always do believe when you have a son, and I know this for a fact. I've seen people around me who did not do the work mentality that the kids have to go through now. I can walk down the street and just see a man and a woman and a child have no correlation, no connection, no spark in the eyes, and the son is mainly the one who's holding everything together, or the daughter. Most of them go to their friends thinking that they can find comfort, but it's an emotional feeling that they're just chasing, and most of the times what they're chasing is nothing that's valuable or valid. People nowadays are chasing things that they can only see with their eyes. Nobody understands the kingdom of God, and I'll say this to myself, as so below, as so above, so below. And I was always thinking to myself, if I made a choice to make my life a better choice, why would I go back to a place where I knew I fought so hard to came back to this place? And while I was in that bad place, I actually forced myself to think about the good times. It's so much harder, easy but harder, when you live in a harder life, to have an easier life outlook on life, because you can understand you don't have to do anything, you don't have to blame anybody else, because you're going through a hard time, and a hard time that gives you purpose. But I think the hardest purpose is knowing that you're not living a hard time, and knowing you don't have to make life that hard for you. Life will always give you trials and tribulations, but you shouldn't actually go out there and try and find them yourself. You should always try to find peace and harmony within yourself, and that's a hardship that you go through every day and day. And I used to believe that, but I don't think that's the truth right now, because the more I discover about myself, the more I realized how much bullshit which I was carrying, and how much people put their weight on me. And I'm not necessarily saying it was my fault, or therefore I just do believe that's how the world goes round. And I don't feel bad or entitled or responsible for anybody else who think I was there with them, or I grew up with them, or I had the same analogy with them. I had the same way of thinking with them, that I have to do the same things, others, or I have to protect them in a way. When I was with you, I did the best that I could, and I did the best that I can. And I know, because that's what I did. That's who I am. That's how I was, by the way. But thinking about it now, though, I have a better life. My mindset is good. My heart is good. My body is good. Things that I just thought that would kill me have not killed me. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And now I actually do feel much stronger and much peaceful. I will not sacrifice anything that would put me in a place where I'd have to go through that again. I'll have to let go of the reins and always trust my maker. I always do believe that if you have nothing to say or nothing good to say, don't say anything at all. If it's something that's transparent or business wise, you always know, you'll always get an alert before everything comes all together. There should be no way or no how, or somebody trying to convince you that what you're doing in your life, they need a check-up update. There's the only reason why you need an update. If you think about it, your business, you just want to know what's happening. But if you're doing something that's special to you, you shouldn't allow anybody else to know. I don't think you should ever allow anybody else to know what's actually going on inside your head, because if people around you understand what's going on inside your head, that means just doing the same thing as them. And if you feel special within doing that and feel special allowing other people knowing what you're doing, and that gives you strength, that gives you something to look for, yeah, fine, but make sure the people who are around you are benefiting off that as well. I realize people are not benefit of me being me, because I didn't have the structure or the ruthlessness that they had. I always had a good heart. I looked at it and I just said, I can't turn myself into that way, or I can't be ruthless. And I'll never will. I don't think I ever can. I think the best way I will always treat anybody is just give him space. And space is the best weapon that I've always had. Silence. Silence and take away your happiness. Nobody can ever take you away from that. Nobody can ever make you speak for something or make your body move unless you allow it to move. It's so stupid. Like the way you look at the sun when it goes up and then when it goes down, you see these birds flying around. When it's winter, when it's raining, you're not gonna see these birds flying around. You're not gonna see the window steaming up. When the sun's out, that's when you'll see it. And this is why I said if you make a choice in a point in time and you do your best to electrify the people around you, let's just say you want to go out there and plant a lot of trees and just save the environment. Most of them who don't really care about the environment, who just take trains, cars, pay on card. They don't take that time to go out in the park and take a walk or just sit down and watch the sunset. They ain't gonna understand what you're trying to talk to, man. They ain't gonna get it. So don't even try and explain yourself from kingdom come to the beach ends. No one's gonna, they're not gonna try and understand because they can't understand, and forgive them because they don't know what they say. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know what information they're trying to give you, because you have to remember the only reason why you're sharing the information is because they themselves don't know. And for you to know about that information, you have to go there and learn. And if you're gonna go out there and learn, you can't just expect the people around you who you've been around of just to immediately to know what you're talking about, because you fit a category that helps them in their social life. I don't think I would ever understand how a social life happens. I think most of the reasons why I actually get in with beefs with a lot of people is because I don't follow the social norms. From a young age, I just never really did understand it. You know, you have a boss, you have a mom and dad, you have an uncle, you know, you have a manager. I don't really get it all. Till this day, some of the people who I've worked with and stayed so close to, I still don't know. I don't know their names. They just don't register in my head. I've even myself forgotten my date of birth in important times where I should have, but I've had to look it up on my phone. I'm not saying this to not to say that you should forget everybody and forget what they do. Just pick up the things that actually matter to you and just focus on them. Because the more you try and take on, the more you're proving to yourself that you're not worthy of the the lightness, how the sun comes up every day and just reflects on everything without everything trying to try. Even if any particle that demands that the sun shines on before their time will not happen. Even the sun can't even make that happen, because the sun still has to wait for the world to rotate. And for the world to rotate, the earth has to wait for the moon. So it's a cycle that everybody has to take turns on. You just gotta make sure you're not taking yourself out of your turn or taking yourself out of your lane, because that's how you mess yourself up. You might go to a faster lane which you're not predictably ready for. I think if you look at it in a way of just saying, I want to do my time, and my time, it might take longer than anybody else's time, or it could be quicker than anybody else's time. But when your time comes, you should not give your time to anybody else. You should always guard your time. How you guide your time is only depends on to you. Most people actually just think guiding your time is staying inside, isolate, don't talk to anybody, be rude. No, 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 no. What guiding your time means, put more into yourself, so when people come around you, they can see the value of you, that they can learn from you without even talking to you. That's the type of learning which truly impacts the world without you even opening your mouth. If you look how roads are made, roads were made even before we knew what roads were. We just upgrade them. It started off with one person going on one path. They found that path. They started talking to another person. He invited them over to another place. Another place created another path. Another person who never knew that place from a different country didn't know that path existed. So they created another path. And so on and so on. And then you realize, oh my God, we have so many paths. Let's try and pick a main path, the one that's easier for everyone, the one that's not complicated, and the one that it had doesn't have too many turning routes, the one that's safest. And all these things come all together to create one path that we know today. I was watching a video and it was the fattest city and the skinniest city. The fattest city didn't even have footpaths. I'm not saying this is not good and bad, but I'm just saying this is how the town has been able to evolve themselves to cater to themselves. And most people will say this is bad, but if you ask them, they'll say it's good. And most people who live in the skinny city, I will always say when you look at it, yeah, on paper, yeah, it's good, but we also know in darkest times or the darkest era, there's always good and bad. It doesn't really matter how you look at it because if you go down to the street and you take street food, there's gonna be some greasy food in there, and you're gonna love it. I don't care. I love greasy food, but also I know I need to eat healthy. But it's only up to 2 years ago I started eating healthy, and that's just facts. I ain't gonna lie to you. So there's no good and bad. There's only what you have to give yourself a chance, and there should never be an ending. There's no such thing as an ending, even though when you watch the movies and they say this is the ending, and then the sequel comes along. There's a part two, then there's a trilogy, then there's an episodes, and there's another seasons. This is what literally what the world is. And listen, if you think you've ended something just because you had the rights to it, someone else will come along with a different character, different colors, different sun shining on the Pacific path that you have laid out. Most of all of the people that know your work, know what you've done, they'll be able to know like, all right, this is like something similar like that, but they've done it into their own way. So there's never an ending. Like if you look at war, people say the World War ended with World War II, but we also know there's always world wars going on around here. There's always gang wars, turf wars, business wars, speech wars, information wars, building wars, even sky wars, water war. You can go on any entertainment platform. You can find so many things about war. You can find so many things about conquering. And with the eternal analogy that I'm trying to get here is there's never an ending to something because there's always something new. There's always a new way of looking at things. I myself, I've done that so much. I've just given up. I think I've got it on autopilot now, and I want to figure out how I cannot do that because it keeps me up late in the night and I can't really sleep, and when I'm not sleeping I don't really care about what's really happening. And I think that's how life gives you that balance and that chaos that you need to be able to get comfortable with, because if you try and put something into one box at a time, like meeting a friend and then figuring out in the past he was a golf, and then after that he was a skateboard, and then after that he was a singer, then after that he was a dancer. You should never put anybody in one box, and you should never put yourself in one box and don't have a one way of thinking or one opinion of thinking. You should always have multiple opinions or way of thinking, and that way it can broaden your way. You can connect to even much more people that you wouldn't think that you wouldn't connect to. I don't think it's much stupid. It's much more fun and exciting to try and convince people to look at world that way and try and convince yourself to look at that way. Because when bad shit happens and you got all this racism, one way, left and right, politics, religion, And at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, when you're all trapped and you're all trying to get together and you're all trying to get to one place, you're gonna come together. It doesn't really matter what the what the grounds are or what your beliefs are. You're all human. You all have your traditionals, you all have your backgrounds, but you understand that for this to work here and now, we all need to come together to make sure that this proceeds in a way that works out for everybody else. I don't think it's a nice way of you living in your own little box and trying to convince yourself that you are this oh great and knowing and I know everything and I can do everything and blah blah blah. That life gets quite boring quite quickly, quite fast, having a God complex. I do believe if you want to have a God complex, I think the best way, and I think this is how most people actually do who actually make something out of their lives. I've just been sitting there studying. This is how I actually did it when I was in my 23 years old. I created a God complex, but I always put it so much further in the future of me. That's why I could never catch him. And it got me to the places where I need to be and it got me what I need to do done. But yet, when somebody always mentioned God, I always thought as myself as God. And then obviously with your insecurities and how you're trying to manage everything and you're thinking you can do anything and everything, you start putting more onto yourself because you think if he can do it in the future, I can do it now. Not knowing you're meant to be looking up to that person and the person to you now cannot do it all. That's why you have to look up to that person and knowing where you're going actually has a way of going and the blessings and the nurture. I just at the end of the day, I ended up just dropping that analogy of thinking because it drained me so much to the point where I just felt much more smaller than a human. I didn't feel like I belonged into this realm. And when things fell apart and you're thinking you're a god, you just think that things that you cannot do are impossible. Yes, we are made of image of God. Yes, we are God's sons and daughters. I do believe that. I do believe that we're made in the perfect image. There's no way I cannot believe that within anybody else. But one thing I don't believe is that you are truly God reincarnated. You are a piece of Him that dwells in you. And it's not even within the flesh, it's within the soul. And every day that you take to go within and listen, heartbeat, veins, bone crackling, look at your scars, physically and mentally, letting the oil go up and down, holding your eyes as in you're holding the palm, looking through your eyes as in you're looking through the beautiful of nature, flying with the high without having to get high on your own supply, allowing the world to show you the wonders that you've never seen, allowing the world to see the world within your eyes. I think that's where you can truly understand what the world really means. How people truly can see this. It takes time because you have to understand there's so much program that's come through that's made you believe in a certain way because there are people up here who have been here longer than you. They understand the game longer than you. They know the ins and outs, and are operating in a place where you would never understand. And if you just want to understand, just think about yourself a year ago or 2 years ago. If you haven't progressed, and there's no way that can ever happen, there's no way you can do the same thing every day and not progress. I find that stupidity. If you do the same thing over and over, you're going to realize a few things have changed. And if you deny, and that's when I say people on this earth who have been here longer than you, the normal, maybe drop a bit of your ego and just listen. And sometimes I even say age doesn't even matter because you can live a lot of lives. And if you truly understand yourself, you can understand you can unlock much more precious memories when you turn to look within. Everything that you see outside there is already inside of you. You turn your whole nervous system and your spine upside down, it's a tree. Your fingertips are the same things that are in your pupils. Your chest and your back is just the same as your lower body. And it's funny because when you look at your elbows and you look at your knees, they're just the opposites. Because I was thinking, I was watching the Spy Kids and they had this henchman, and then the henchmen were there were thumbs. And I was just thinking, why would you have thumbs? Don't you think that's a bit of a lazy way of creating a character? And then I looked at myself and I was like, don't you have this similar thing? I mean, you got your hands and feet, you got your limbs, you got your ears. It's just copy and paste. So this is why I can't say I can't hate on anybody else. You have to learn how to love everybody else. You have to learn how to appreciate everybody else who's around you. And it takes time to do that, but you can't do that unless you appreciate yourself. And if you can't handle a full grown adult knowing that they're just still a child inside, what gives you the right to have another child? What gives you the right to hold another life within your hands? These are the type of thoughts that you need to be having with yourselves. And if you do not take care of this, because we all know emotions can be felt before words. Nobody in this earth could talk before they could see. Nobody on this earth could see before they felt. These are core things that every single living thing generally has to go through. So if you think just because someone doesn't have the power to speak what they have to say or hold their gaze, they still felt it. They can feel it straight how a normal person would feel it. So if you want to make a safe space for anybody around you, make sure you feel safe within yourself. Make sure you're kind to yourself. Make sure you look at yourself in a blessing way. Make sure you carry yourself with dignity. Make sure you honor your word. Make sure you honor yourself. Make sure when you wake up, you give yourself some love. Make sure every day that goes through, you give yourself the opportunity to learn something more about yourself. You shouldn't have to feel that it's a task to try and get to know you. And you shouldn't put that burden on anybody else. That's a gift that God has given to you to know you. And the more you get to know yourself, the more you can love yourself, the more you can give more to yourself and give to the people around you. The more full your cup is, the more it can bless the people around you. In hard times, even the hardest people know they're going to make it through. So I see no point of always trying to convince yourself that this is it. I don't think I can do it. There's nothing more I can do. I wish I picked a different way. I wish somebody else would have been here except for me. All these things don't exist. They don't really matter. They don't have space within my heart, within my brain, within my place. that I call home within. If I have to truly admit this, that means I'm already failing. That means I'm already not believing in myself. That means I'm not being put as much effort into myself that I actually believe in. I give up. I give up on trying to convince the world who I am. And I think this is why mostly I make most of these videos. So it can help me help myself in everyday life to come back and just say, hey, you know what? Yeah, that was me. At that age, I was doing that. I was focusing on myself more than anybody else. I was doing the right thing for me, even though I didn't know what I was doing. But at this age now, I can't turn back. I can't look back. I can't get that lick back because where I was to now, and I remember when I was young and I said, there must be more to life. And I know life can't be like this. My head can't always be paranoid, second guessing myself, doubting myself, staying in this turmoil of chaos. And that's life. That's not life. I knew deep down in my heart that wasn't life. And the life which I wanted to give to my offspring could not exist in that life. It could not exist. There was no way it could ever exist, and nobody would ever understand. And I was so powerful in this. Even to this day, I still pursue. I still pursue. And this is why I can't stick to one way of thinking. You always have to keep a way of opening the mind and challenging yourself. Putting a block, one, it could have everything right. Some things you have to lose, something you have to let go. You have to let go of some things for you to realize where you're going and how far you've come. But just never doubt yourself. No matter how high the price is, if it doesn't feel good here, if it doesn't feel good here, and if it makes you worry here, don't even claim it. Don't even approach it. Don't even try and understand it. Don't even think that it's your responsibility to. Don't even give it the time of day. It your life force is so important, even just the mere thought of thinking about that puts you in a disadvantage that somewhere you should not be. Love.